Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. You're here with Robbie,
Hi, I'm Carlos.
and today we're gonna be having a quick, short episode about revolving around the fact that this past weekend Carlos got to watch his very first broadcast of the LCS. As you guys might be aware, if you guys have been following the show, I am a esports fan that very rarely watches traditional sports, whereas Carlos is more of a traditional sports fan who very rarely dabbles with anything related to esports until recently. So, with that being said, is there anything you want to add, Carlos, before we dive into the questions?
Um, yeah, it was just my first time watching League of Legends and in general. So if I sound kind of ignorant or stupid with my responses,
Cancel.
just letting you know, just letting you know. So
Cancel.
just don't spam the comments. But yeah, I'm just a noob. So I'm excited to be educated on this topic, and hopefully, as I watch more games, the answers will come to me naturally.
So, when it comes to expanding the viewership of the LCS, there's two trains of thought. Some people think that Riot, the company behind League of Legends, should attempt to pull people from like a traditional sports background, such as yourself, whereas other people argue that they should be trying to pull in people that play the game because a very small fraction of the people that play the game actually watch the professional scene. And I think they're both valid, opinions. And I think your opinion is actually going to be very valuable. It's kind of like a market analysis, if you may, like just to see what someone from outside the scene thinks of the broadcast. And that's why I kind of want to go through some questions with you.
Mhm.
Okay, well, first question I want to ask you is, I want you to tell me your first impression of this broadcast when compared to an NBA broadcast, or in general, just give me your first thoughts about the broadcast.
I thought it was really professional, just the way they had like a pre-match preview, the actual game itself, and the post-match with the interview. So it was really well done in terms of the commentators actually knew what they were talking about. I don't know why this guy stood out to me because his name was Kobe. I was like, oh, this guy's name is Kobe, and I think he was like an analyst, I believe. So
Mhm.
just I don't know, the way that the commentators and analysts were talking about the game, uh, really got me kind of, even though I never seen a game before, it got me excited. Like, oh, and they kept talking about like storylines to watch too. So like, I guess because I was a casual viewer, it's like, okay, I should keep an eye on this, or players that they saw, new players for each team. So it pretty much was a good preview for me just to like know like what players would um would be important in the game. But yeah, in terms of like the pre-match and post-game part aspects of the broadcast, I thought it was really well done.
I think I mean, I don't know. I think now that you're pretty connected to the internet, so I know you kind of expected a good product, but a lot of times, especially with like these remote broadcasts that people are trying to do nowadays, you see a lot of technical issues. And
Mhm.
aside from technical issues, a lot of the casters and on-air talent can be a little cringy sometimes, or they'll be too memey. And we can dive a little bit more about what maybe what you thought of that. But I'm glad to hear that you thought overall it was a good experience. If I can give my 2 cents, compared to last year around this time, the broadcast was getting a lot of flack because their product was getting a little stale. The graphics were a little bit kind of not as good as they are now. So far, they've added a lot of talent into their team, which is good. And I'm hoping that I mean, with the addition of this talent, such as Emily Rand, which is a big example, I hope that their product can keep getting get better. And I like the graphics a lot. They were really aesthetic and pleasing to look at.
Mhm.
Um, so okay, I wanted to ask you next. Do you have anything to add before I ask this next question?
Oh, the way that they had the pretty much the graphics that really helped um like to like show me like what was gonna happen during the game. So yeah, they helped a lot immensely.
That's good. Um, you mentioned Kobe. Kobe was a. We might talk about this later, but just so you know, he was one of the first pros. Actually, he used to play for COG. He was their jungler back when COG was somewhat decent, and he transitioned to casting. And he's kind of an Alice caster. Um, he's probably everyone's top one or top two casters, I would say. He's my favorite caster for sure. He's super chill, down to earth. I've met him a few times. He's good looking. And he just, I like it. If Kobe leaves, I think last year we had a caster named Jat leave, who was like my favorite caster. He left to become, to do, like work in like pretty much game development behind the scenes. And then he came back and then he got hired as a coach and he left again. So I don't know where Kobe's plans are for the future, but I really hope he stays. Like, I don't know. Anyways, okay. So my next question is time slots. I want to know what you think of it being aired from Friday to Sunday instead of. I know like traditional sports have games like every day of the week. What do you think of the games being consolidated into 3 days?
Um, well, I like that it was only on weekends, just because usually, I guess for like the general fan, weekends is like when most of us are off of work and have a lot of free time. So the times really were really good, and the games, well, I really like, they're really NBA games usually last like 2 to 3 hours, so you have to like really get invested
Mm-hmm.
and like just to watch like one game. But with the league games that I was watching, they're really short. I guess 30 to 40 minutes per match, and it was like it was straight to the point. Got to see at least 3 games on Friday, and I saw I think 2 games on Sunday. What was difficult though about seeing the games is because sometimes on Saturday and Sunday, that's when the major sports have like their big events. So like NFL or NBA usually have like the big matchups on those
Mm-hmm.
particular days during prime time. So it's like if you're a casual fan, it might be difficult for you to watch a league game and an NBA game at the same time unless you have like two TVs, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, the Friday games, I thought the time wise is really good. It will suck though because right now we're on lockdown, we're on quarantine, and we're just staying at home. But like once we start going out again and start hanging out with friends, it might be hard just to catch these games on Saturdays, for example. Um, but yeah, but I thought that the times they worked for me.
Yeah, I know for me as a longtime viewer, I've been watching pretty much since 2013 at this point, and I used to just sit in front of the TV or my computer for the full 6 to 8 hour stream and just watch every game. But as time goes on, I get more busy, life gets more complicated. So now I find myself just catching a few matches every weekend. And if there's a match I can't catch that I really wanted to catch, I go back and I watch like the VOD. So I can see where you're coming from. Um, I think a lot of people always ask why like League doesn't have matches between Monday through Friday or like Monday through Thursday. And it kind of goes around giving how do I say this? So something that's kind of interesting about League is their practice partners are pretty much all the pro teams. Whereas other professional sports, they have like sister teams and practice team, like you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
And they can practice against each other. Even like an NBA team full of pro players can probably make two decent teams out of each full team, right? And you can
Yeah,
practice against each other. Whereas over here, it's kind of imperative that everyone's on the same schedule so that they can practice against each other and get good practice. So that's kind of why they don't do Monday through Friday, um, or Monday through Thursday games. So, okay, that's a good thing. Thank you for that. Next question that I have for you is, what did you think of the on-air talent? You kind of talked about Kobe a bit, and I want to ask you about like the casters. Usually, when the game's casted, you have a caller caster and a shout caster. So the caller caster is like, oh, very analytical. Like, oh, they're doing Baron right now because they have pressure on like this side of the map. Whereas the shout casters are one that's like narrating the fights. Like, oh my god, like I don't know, tactical goes in and he uses like this ability and blah blah blah. So they're like the ones that are kind of more play by play.
yeah.
Um, so I want to know what you think of that. I also want to know what you thought of the analyst desk, which is kind of like the segment before and after games where they analyze the games a bit. I want to know if you think any of it was cringy or I personally don't think so, but I want to just hear from your point of view. Because I know I think we're very lucky in league that they have such good talent. But I know in other sports, a lot of times they're just cringy. And I hate using
Mhm.
the word cringy because it's kind of overused at this point, but sometimes they'll just have segments that just seem irrelevant or like the delivery's so poor. But anyways, you can go ahead and answer the question now.
Yeah, so to answer your first part of the question about the play by play, I appreciated the play by play a lot just because it was my first time ever watching a game. So just ending just like those moments where like someone was going on a kill streak or where someone was about to take over a tower, or like oh something big's about to happen, and the way their voice was elevating and getting like hype for those certain moments
Mm.
really let you know like oh something big's about to happen right here. So the play by play really helped. And then what also helped too was, um, I know like the commentary is like pretty much based off for people who are like more familiar with the game. So um, for me, it was kind of hard to follow. I guess, especially that first game I was watching. Like, wait, what does that dragon do? What's the big deal about why are they hyping up killing the dragon so much? But then as I keep watching the other games, um, I understood. But just the way that the commentators, the play by play guy, was narrating the game, and pretty much by the tone of the voice, you could tell like what team was winning, and like what and the way that they call out their players too. Like usually in the NBA, the commentators they really don't call out like the players if they're doing bad. They're just like oh rough shooting night or he could this. But like I noticed like in league they were just pretty much calling out players like oh he's not doing that good today or what's he's not having his typical night in the league game.
Yeah. So I wonder which caster did that. Because I know, for example, Freak, he's one of the casters who's more vocal about like. I know he's so funny because he's so like ruthless. He'll say stuff like, "And COG is doing nothing productive for the past 20 minutes." Like he's ruthless with the way he goes about it, and people like
Yeah.
it, especially because he walks the line between bullying and calling it as it is very well. And he's also a really good caster. I think he's someone that's really aged really well because at the beginning he used to be very like punny and they were funny for the most part. But I think with time, some of those puns kind of have like gotten old. But I think he's really aged really well. I think into like his profession. What
Hmm.
about the analyst desk? Like the segment before and after?
Yeah, so before and after, I didn't find it cringy because it was again my first time watching, so I was like, oh, okay, I would just trying to pay attention, um, see what they were talking about, trying to like connect to the things that you were discussing previously about more players to keep an eye on, um, and what typically like what champions they would choose and things like that. Um, I just and I noticed everything on the before and after is always like with the sponsor. So like let's go to the State Farm desk over here, or let's go to blah 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 over here. Like everything was like named after a sponsor. So I was like, oh okay, so they're really like all these like big like corporations are really behind League and they're really giving a lot of money in order to stream the game. So I like the way it was done. I didn't find it cringy because I know in the NBA sometimes there's two different networks that broadcast it. One of them is ESPN, and the other one is TNT. And sometimes people call the ESPN one kind of cringe just because they use like outdated memes or like don't even talk about the game at all. And TNT is like more straight to the point, more about basketball, about the action. So I've only seen like that again, like only those one broadcast, but I thought it was really well done.
Well, that's a perfect segue into maybe talking a little bit about like maybe the ad breaks and the sponsors. So, did you think any of the ad breaks or maybe the way they were calling us sponsors was any of it too intrusive? I think a lot of league fans always kind of like I don't know they try to call Riot a sellout, but they'll like complain about the sponsors being too in your face. But I know you come from a traditional, background where you literally have like sponsors like in your face. So I just want to know. I think it's pretty subtle, but I don't know what you think.
Yeah, like I thought I was just focusing on the gameplay, but like in the corner of the screen, I always saw like the sponsors and all the logos there. I was like, okay, so this is like pretty much really like really professional, really very corporate now, I guess.
I
um,
see that. Yeah.
but yeah, like with NBA, yeah, there's same thing. There's like sponsor, like there's a Staples logo or Target logo. State Farm is a really big NBA sponsor as well, so I recognize that
Hmm.
that company. So I was like, oh, okay, it's pretty much what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's fun about that is the LCS up until recently was not making my understanding from an outside point of view. Obviously, I'm not within the scene. I'm not inside the scene, but from reading articles, and hearing interviews, up until recently, the LCS was not profitable. It was more of a advertisement for people to try to join the game. You know, it was kind of like they weren't making money. You know, they weren't getting real sponsors up until recently, and there's been a lot of talk about how they can make more money. Some people were saying that maybe they'll sell the rights exclusively to like, like a network or, but I think the commissioner or I forgot who said it, but they always have been very vocal about how this product will stay free for the viewers. They don't want to make a subscription. They don't want to put like a gate between you being able to watch it and not being able to watch it. And
Hmm.
I know, yeah, the sponsors have been like more and more involved, which I think gives credibility to the league. I know some of the sponsors they have are Bud Light, which they flash on the screen. Every time there's an ace, which is when you kill everyone on the other team, it says Bud Light Ace.
But like, yeah,
There's a Mastercard. Grubhub just joined. State Farm Analyst Desk. They have like the Honda partnership. They have
hey,
Verizon.
that Bud Light ad worked because after the game, I went to go buy some Bud Light seltzers. So hey, there you go.
I know. I know. I personally tried it when they partnered up because I was like, well, I gotta go support the sponsors. You know. They have Verizon, Buffalo Wild Wings. I know when they get a Baron, it says Red Bull Baron. I think out of all the sponsors, probably Secret Labs is the one that you probably know the least about. I think they make chairs, gaming chairs.
Yeah, I didn't know
Um,
about it.
what do you think of these sponsors? Do you think these sponsors kind of like hit like you as a viewer? Like, do they, you know?
Yeah, because like typically like the viewer is like pretty much a teenager to like a late 20-year-old person. So it's pretty much things that I would relate to a lot. Just like, oh yeah, like I like beer. I like getting food, getting Buffalo Wild Wings, getting Grubhub.
Mhm.
Like yeah, it's like all things that are like oh, and maybe like you said, it really helped legitimize um the game that I was watching. It wasn't just like a random guy in his basement just playing League. It was these are professionals, and I believe they were playing in LA, right?
Yes, Santa Monica.
So, yeah, these are professionals playing in Santa Monica, getting paid millions of dollars to pretty much broadcast this game to a bunch of people on YouTube. So it really helped legitimize what I was seeing and made me think, okay, so this is really a big thing. What was happening here?
I have a quick follow up. Did you watch it on Twitch or YouTube? I think you said YouTube, but I want to know where you watched it.
I watched it on YouTube, yeah, just
Okay.
because I'm more familiar with YouTube's
Okay,
algorithm and
okay.
stuff like that. Yeah.
I like YouTube more because on YouTube you can actually pause and rewind. I don't know if you know that, but on YouTube you can pause and rewind, and sometimes I like to fall behind, so that way when there's like pause breaks, I can just skip ahead.
Mhm.
Personally, that's kind of like I know that's I mean I don't, and then I like Twitch because of Twitch chat, obviously, but I usually go on YouTube most of the time. Um,
Mhm.
Next question I have for you: were there any storylines that you were able to pick up or follow? Maybe any narratives that you kind of heard, whatever you can think of the top of your head.
What was sticking out to me one of the games that I was watching is when they were showing the starting lineups. Most of the commentators when they're showing the starting lineups, most of the commentators were talking about this player is replacing this guy because of visa issues, or
Mm,
really. An example of this was when I was watching the FlyQuest game, I believe.
mm-hmm.
I was looking forward to seeing that guy you were talking about, Jose Dio, and he
Jose
couldn't
Diallo,
be
yeah.
able to play in that. Yeah, he wasn't able to play in that Friday game, and I was just like
Hmm.
wondering, wait, what happened to him? And then turns out it was like visa issues. He couldn't come to the United
Mm.
States in order to play. So I saw that most of their teams didn't have their preferred starting lineups
Mm-hmm.
within the games, and the commentators kept making um, note of that, like pretty much not making an excuse for the team, but just saying like this is why their jungler's sucking today because it's not their usual guy, or this is why the bottom lane is struggling or top lane is struggling. Like it kind of like helped explain to me like because in the NBA too, like when you're missing like one of your starters, the whole chemistry kind of flows off.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of makes sense to me why some teams were getting like dumpstered like immediately.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that probably next episode about some of the first impressions. But yeah, I mean, visa issues have been, I mean, they're usually, annoying, but with COVID, it's been especially annoying. Like, I know a lot of teams have struggled to be able to attain them on time. It seems like all teams are going to be able to get their players here in the near future, which is good. I think last year there was a player that got rejected, I think, once for their visa, and then he had to get it, attempt to get it a second time, and the second time he was able to get it, but he got here kind of late, and it kind of like really messed up their split at least. But that's cool. I'm glad you were able to pick up those storylines. Um, I hope the casters keep making keep really pushing good narrative forward because I think that's what keeps you in the game. People talking smack, people maybe seeing underdogs come up. I think it's the storyline. So obviously, like the high level gameplay is obviously good as well, but not everyone can appreciate. Like, oh, he did this specific mechanic or they did this specific rotation. Most people are just like, oh my god, I want to see my favorite player win, or I want to see that player lose. So that's cool. I hope you can follow some storylines moving forward. Did you watch Perks play?
Oh yeah, I was about to talk about that later, but yeah, I watched Perks, and that was like pretty much all that hype throughout that Friday. Like, oh my god, this is Perks' first game in the United States. I was looking up his Twitter feed because like just because with NBA, I would look up Twitter to see what the drama is, and Perk was
Yeah.
talking about my first game. I'm gonna go without getting killed or something like that. So,
Yeah.
oh damn, this guy's like should be really good. Excited. The first game I see him play, he gets freaking destroyed, freaking sucks. Like, what the hell? What happened to him? Was it just a big thing in Europe or not in North America? So that was my Friday impression. But then like Saturday and Sunday, I guess he was doing a lot better. He was acclimating. So it was just funny to see like all the trash talk Perks was doing at first.
Yeah.
And I know you follow Cloud9, so I was like, oh, okay, so this
Mhm.
is like one of the teams that Robbie likes, and pretty much you're getting a transcendental superstar into your team. So good to see how that would work, but that didn't work on Friday. And then on Twitter, like when I saw like people were like trolling and commenting like, "Oh my god, you suck! You're washed. Wash Perks." Hashtag like all this stuff was happening. Like, dang, like some of the fans and league are or can be really toxic. It gets pretty competitive. It was really funny.
I would say that's actually pretty tame. Most of the like I think most pro players can handle you're bad, you suck. I know pro players have talked about like some of the abuse they receive, but a lot my understanding is that there's a line, between being funny and being upset, and some players will get like death threats and they'll just get like really fucked up shit sent to them. So, I think for them most of them they laugh and Perks has seen all of it. He's been good, he's been bad. I mean, he's always been good, but internationally, he used to have a meme where he'd go to international events as a vacation because he would lose. And then one year he just popped off and he's been winning really well. Yeah, Perks. It's so funny because I think people remember Perks as like this really good player because he's been really good recently. But he used to have like this Twitch copy. You know what a copy pasta on Twitch is, right?
Yeah.
So he used to have one that was like, I'm gonna read it to you. It says, "My Azir is bad, my Rice is worse. You guessed it right. I'm G2 Perks." And people would spam that all the time because it was like, cause he would just like choke on certain champions. It could be. I mean, he's been here for like a week or two. It could be, getting adjusted. It could be, I think it could be just maybe getting used to, being back in the mid lane professionally. I don't think he's nervous, but it's so much more interesting when he says shit like, "I'm not gonna die," because you're more invested in the game. And
Yeah.
I think as a community, hopefully we're starting to move forward to like a place where we don't we obviously if they shit talk and they fall on their face, we'll tease them. but we're trying to get to a point where we don't fucking send death threats and stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
as a community. Not that I take
And you
part
know
of that.
what? And you know what? I actually like that he was trash talking just because it made me become invested in the game that I was watching. It wasn't just about the gameplay. I was just trying to see, okay, is he gonna die? What's he doing this game? And then when he did die, when he kept dying in that Friday game, I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? What are people saying? So it worked. It worked to get like me, a casual fan, involved with the game, and trying to see and follow like a storyline and get my foot in the door.
But it's so funny. Before we move on, I want to commend you for actually diving deep into this. I'm gonna do the same later today when we watch Lakers versus Warriors. But I do want to give you props, Carlos, for diving that deep into the Twitter, the game. I think I just I really want to say thank you because
Mhm.
it really looks like you gave this a chance, and I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Um,
I kept talking to our producer Eric about the games I was watching. So I was
yeah,
like, I was just trying to remember, like, okay, yeah, I did watch them.
yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you were able to. Yeah, it's so I thought it was really funny. 'Cause I think Cloud9 is it? Are they 2-1? I think they're 2-1. Let me check real quick. Just I think they're 2-1, and I think on the game they lost, yeah, 2-1. So on the game they lost, yeah, Perks did bad, and on one of the games they won, Perks was pretty much non-existent. So I think it's probably just getting used to the team atmosphere, probably just getting a feeling of what everyone's strengths are. So hopefully as the tournament progresses, we can see them kind of like just really sharpen themselves a bit more. But okay. Now let's talk about. I want to ask you, what did you think of the games? Like, tell me your first impressions of like the pick ban phase, the length of the game. Were you able to follow the game progression as it was going on? Any champions that stood out to you as strong?
Yeah. So I was kind of like confused, like, because like the very beginning of the game, it took a while to set up, just choosing the champions, and I saw like, oh, that's what you're talking about, like when other team crosses out or takes away the other team's champions. So that process took a little bit too long for me. It was like I thought it would go a lot more faster, but I guess just the teams were just strategizing and trying to see what champions to choose from. Um, and then I gotta admit, when I first started watching the game, I was too overwhelmed. There was like numbers everywhere, symbols everywhere. The bottom of the screen, I do not understand what each item does. So I was just like, what the heck? And then there was like timers left and right. I was like, oh my god, what the heck this is going on? And then I saw like the little minions. I was like, oh, what do they do? They look kind of cute. And then I just like, oh, they're trying to destroy a tower. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess each tower you destroy will help you get to your goal. And then I noticed there was like what helped me understand what's happening in the game is the gold
Hmm.
symbols.
Hmm.
So how much gold each team had. So the more gold that a team had, the better they were doing. I in my mind, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Um, so and also it was correlated to the amount of kills that they had. So if a team was like really killing a lot of people, getting a lot of gold, I could tell. All right, so they're closer to their objective of winning the game. Um, well, one of the games that I was watching that stood out to me, one of the champions, I mean, was an alligator. I think one. I don't even know the player's
Yeah.
name. He was using an alligator at the
Yeah. Yeah.
top lane, and that pretty much helped win the game for, I believe, Evil Geniuses,
Okay. Yes.
or yeah. So they were using the alligator, and right away that pretty much hampered Cloud9's chances of winning the game.
Hmm.
Um, but the other champions, I didn't know what they would do. I was trying to, in my mind, I was like, hey, what does a dragon do? Which there was like a earth
Hmm.
dragon or wind dragon or something like that. I was just trying to
Yeah.
figure out each ability. So I was just like, okay, I was just all over the map. But the commentators, whenever it was like a big kill happening or like a double team kill, I kind of knew, okay, so they're advancing towards the team's base.
Hmm.
And what pretty much whatever team had the most gold where was did end up winning the game. So it
Hmm.
kind of, I have the basics of it down. I just don't have like the whole all each of the champions abilities each of the items down yet, or the dragons per se. I'm still learning, but
Mhm.
it was really fun just to see like what each position would do and see them in action. So I kind of know what a jungler does now.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, you're a pretty smart dude, so I know you could be able to follow the game to a decent level. It sounds like you were able to follow it to a decent level, so that's pretty good. I Yeah, so that alligator, his name's Renekton. He's pretty strong, and the player you're watching is probably Impact, who is a former world champion, also former Cloud9 player. So I'm pretty sure he felt good being able to beat one of his old teams. Um, okay, that's cool. Well, what about? I know you mentioned before that you don't think 30 to 40 minutes for a game is that bad then.
No, it was a perfect amount of time for a game, in my opinion. Just it kept my attention, and there was always action happening.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Um, Next question I want to ask is: I know you didn't watch every game, but did any team stand out to you?
What stood out to me was Team Liquid. I don't know, they look really good,
Mhm.
especially I don't know, one of their guys, Core JJ. I don't
Okay.
even. He looks really good,
Yeah,
just
he
the
is
way he
pretty
was
good.
playing, and his post game interview, he looked
Mhm.
like okay, he means business. So
Yeah.
I think Team Liquid looks pretty fun team to watch.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about, good imports and bad imports, and what they mean by that is how much work they're willing to put in here. When you're an import, I think most people think of you as like you're supposed to elevate the region, elevate your team. And some imports
Hmm.
come here just trying to cash a check in, trying to just retire. Not all imports, obviously. But Corey JJ is probably, in my opinion, the best import North America's ever seen. He's actually really, really trying to elevate the region. And dude, this guy could just cash a check, fucking cruise for the next couple years. He's a former world champ. He could have just cruised, but he came here. He's been trying his ass off, dude, and so much respect for him. He has such a good story. Actually, I don't want to go into it too much, but he used to be an 80 carry main, back in like 2017, 2016, maybe 2016. And he played here in North America. He played. His team got shit on. He switched role support. Went back to Korea, worked his way up. Went to World Finals and lost. Went to World Finals again the next year and won. And then came to North America. And he's been doing really well since he came here. Like he also puts together like um after hours practice, if that makes sense, with all the players in the region, which is above what he's getting paid for, honestly. So like, I mean, I have a lot of respect for him. I like Team Liquid a lot. I hope they do well. I know I'm wearing a Cloud9 jersey, but overall, I'm a North America fan. As long as I don't care who wins, I just want him to do well internationally for me at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so Team Liquid, that's okay. That's good. I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that. What about players? Did any players stand out to you besides Core
Uh,
JJ? You already mentioned him, so
like for JJ, I was really looking forward to seeing Jose Dio,
mhm.
but hopefully maybe I'll become a FlyQuest fan. Who knows? Who knows? But
Maybe they're
I
not
don't
looking too good right now.
know. Player wise, I wasn't really following. Besides perks, because the only
Mhm,
reason I followed perks that much was because of the storyline.
mhm,
One of the things that makes NBA so trendy is the storylines. People care. I noticed on Twitter, people care more about the storylines than the actual gameplay itself. So that's where like all like the drama helps elevate the league sometimes.
mhm,
So what Perk was doing was when he was like talking like trash talking, it helped me become like, oh, okay, so this guy's a player to watch. So like more of the outspoken players catch
mhm,
help me catch attention. So since this was my first time watching, to be honest, I wasn't paying that much attention to the players, just trying to understand the
mhm.
basic components of the games. But now that after seeing like what each team and how their tier rankings during this first weekend, I could pretty much start to follow players now throughout the following weeks.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that is that people ask for players to talk smack, but then they'll talk smack and they'll get so much like what's the word, just like kickback. They'll get a lot of like just people telling them to shut up. They're not that good, and it's really good. If you like trash talk, you would have loved Double Lift. It kind of sucks like he's been retired now, But yeah, one of the players, I think Fudge, talked a little bit of smack, and some people were kind of giving him shit for talking smack because he's a brand new player, pretty much. And Double
Yeah.
Lift came out and said, like, dude, guys, stop. This is entertainment, you know? Like, it's like the WWE, you know? He had to say it's, you know, obviously it's not scripted, but like, it's entertainment at the end of the day, you know? Like, you want to watch high level play, you probably could go watch that, you know, on a stream, you know? But if you want to, you know, you follow these teams, these players because of the narrative, you know? I know I do, and I'm sure you do as well. So hopefully more players can talk smack. Obviously, keep it civil. But looking back to it, yeah, some of the most iconic moments are when people talk smack, dude. It's like
Hmm.
there was this one guy, this coach, who a a snap of him leaked where he's like taking a selfie. He's like ready to 3-0. Are you guys ready for 3-0? And then they proceed to get 3-0'd in the finals,
Oh no.
and it was so funny. And then I think same coach was like, this team is gonna crash and burn at the tournament. And then he goes and his team crashes and burns.
And
And
everybody reads it and
yeah,
like,
it's like meme it all the time. This other one where I think Double Lift was going against Immortals back in the day when they were really good. And they asked Double Lift, how are you gonna beat them? And Double Lift's like, we're just gonna tilt them. And nobody thought they were gonna win, and then they beat them, and then that kind of became a meme. And I mean, just the smack talk is always good. I know what was the other one? There was one where this player um kind of made fun of those other players' height. They were matched up, right? And he made this motion. He was like, "I can't see you." He went back and said he meant more along the lines of like, "This guy's never wanted anything, so you know I can't. He's not even like in my radar."
oh,
But people kind of said, "Oh, it was kind of a high joke, whatever." But then he proceeds to just lose the game. The guy that was talking shit. So obviously, you know, smack talking is very important to the league, and I hope you know, people continue. Um, with that being said, I have one last question for you. Do you have any feedback, any improvements the broadcast could make? You're welcome to say that you don't have any. I just wanted to see if you had any.
um, well, I know because it was the first weekend and
Mhm.
everything. Um, I just wasn't really paying that much attention to like the ad
Mhm.
breaks that much. Um, but I thought it really well done. It was really professional. Um, the post game interviews, it kind of had like a UFC like title fight feel to it. Like, oh, how'd you feel about this game? And they were like, it's like after knocking out somebody, but like I like the way that they were done, really professional. And I know like the commentary is based off of based off people who already know the game that well. So I was lost the majority of the time, but as I was watching it, I kind of got a feel for it, and I don't know. I don't know how to distinguish the commentators right now
Mhm.
because right now they're
That's
all the
fine.
same to me. But as I
Yeah,
watch more games,
that's fine.
I'll see the different like the different analysts that they use and different like how well how biased. I need to see like bias too. Like is
Hmm.
commentator biased towards a certain team or biased towards is he like company man pretty much?
Hmm.
So I'll keep an eye on that as I keep watching.
Okay. Well, Carlos, thank you so much for taking the time to dive deep into League of Legends. I think this is very interesting to hear your point of view. I love that you actually went on Twitter and looked at perks. Um,
Yeah.
with that being said, I'm just, it was really fun hearing your thoughts. I don't know if you have anything you want to add before we finish this.
No. In the future, we should do an episode about like the top 20 or top 10 like moments in like LCS history, like the
Okay.
most hype moment, and I'll do a top 20, top 10 moments of like playoff NBA playoff history or something like that. So just to see like the
Yeah,
storylines that happened. Yeah. So I'm
yeah.
excited. Feature list.
I would love to do that too. Okay. Well, with that being said, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna start resuming our weekly episodes. We kind of took a small break after Christmas, just kind of getting things in place in our personal lives. But look forward to hearing back from us. Thank you again to our producer Eric for making sure everything runs smoothly. Um, with that being said, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your week, and thanks for tuning in. Peace.